And what we have to understand now, in the period of superior brainwashing, is there is no European answer for African problems. Either Africans find a solution to African problems, or there is no solution, and if you don't find a solution soon, you go back into slavery.
All right, welcome to Watermelon TV and the Blue Room Project, the podcast where history meets the present. I'm your host, Meadow Seneb Seki Upesh, and today we're exploring a topic that's as ancient as the pyramids, but just as relevant to the modern world. I'm going to dive into the connection between the ancient Egyptian and the descendants of African diaspora, particularly Black Americans. You know, just to pause on that point, you know, we got a lot of people around the globe telling us what we're not, telling us what we are, telling us what we're not. And frankly, I'm really getting annoyed by it. Hence the video, why I'm making this video. Now, during COVID, we were being locked up, locked down, and couldn't move, and you know, all kind of things going on while this was happening. I love it. Sorry about it skipping. I don't know why I'm Egyptians. You know, these are the people that's telling us you're not Egyptian. You know, we'll mute it, but we'll let it play. You're not Egyptian. We are. You see, we bring it's called the Pharaoh's Parade. We bring this out, right? See, they didn't have a heavy colonization that happened to them. You know, you would think with all these Arab people over there, or Egyptians, quote unquote, you know, are these Muslims? And if they're not, how come they're not teaching the world? I don't want to use the I word, invaders. But that's what's going on here. Again, it's saying beautifully. Let's listen to a little more. These are our African instruments as well. And think about it. With us in Black history, Black American history, we've been colonized. We've been impaired, have forced upon different cultures, stripped of our language. Yet, we still doing this. We got no culture, right? They say we got no culture, yet we doing this right here. Look at that. I'm sorry about the skipping, y'all. We gonna fix it, right? We got no culture, but we got this. What ties exist, and how has this history shaped identity, culture, and pride? Let's unpack this fascinating story together. When most people think of ancient Egypt, images of towering pyramids, golden treasures, and powerful pharaohs like Tutankhamun or Cleopatra come to mind. But there's a deeper narrative here, one that resonates powerfully with Black Americans. It's a story of heritage, cultural reclamation, and the ongoing journey to understand a past that was interrupted by centuries of colonialism and enslavement. So let's start with the basics. Ancient Egypt, or Kemet, as it was called by its own people, was one of the most influential civilizations in human history. The term Kemet literally means the Black Land, but it has also become a symbol of cultural identity and pride for people of African descent. Egypt was, of course, an African civilization. Its people were deeply connected to the continent through trade, culture, and shared history. While the exact racial makeup of ancient Egyptians is still debated amongst those scholars, there's no denying that they were indigenous to Africa and shared physical and cultural traits with other African peoples. This connection is significant for Black Americans, many of whom seek to reclaim a sense of identity and belonging that was stripped away during the transatlantic slave trade. For centuries, enslaved Africans were cut off from their languages, traditions, and histories. Egypt, which is an undeniable African root, offers a source of pride and reminder of Africans' monumental contributions to human civilization. Scholars and activists like Dr. John Henry Clarke.
As for friends, you have had no friends. When they discovered you, they began to prey on you. Now let's look at our relationship with Western Asia, mistakenly called the...
Scholars and activists like John Henry Clarke and Sheikh Anta Diop have been instrumental in highlighting Egypt's African identity. They've argued that recognizing ancient Egypt as part of African heritage is crucial for dismantling the Eurocentric narratives that have dominated history books for centuries. And this matters because how we view history shapes how we view ourselves. But let's talk about the cultural impact. For decades, Black American artists, activists, and intellectuals have drawn inspiration from ancient Egypt. Think of the iconic fashion and symbolism in the music of artists like Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind & Fire, Outkast. The imagery of pyramids, ankhs, and pharaohs have been a powerful way to reclaim African heritage and celebrate Black excellence. Then there's the Harlem Renaissance, a period where writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston, among others, delved into African history and spirituality. Egypt was often a focal point in their works, serving as a symbol of Black greatness. Of course, there's also a spiritual connection. The philosophies and practices of Kemet have influenced modern movements like Kemetic spirituality, which draws on ancient Egyptian concepts of Maya, truth, balance, order, and justice. This has resonated with many Black Americans seeking spiritual systems that far outweigh Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And its intent is to honor our ancient African ancestry. But it's not just about celebrating the past. The story of Egypt is also a story of resilience. Despite invasions, colonization, and cultural erasure, despite invasions, colonizations, and cultural thievery, the legacy of ancient Egypt endures. For Black Americans, this mirrors our own story and survival and triumph over adversity. So what can we take away from this? Ancient Egypt serves as a reminder that Black history is rich, complex, and foundational to the story of humanity. For Black Americans, it's a wellspring of pride and identity. But it is also a call to action, to dig deeper, challenge your own self, challenge the narratives, and reclaim the histories that have been buried or distorted. So as I wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. History isn't just something we study, it's something we live. And by connecting with our roots, we can shape our futures with a sense of purpose and pride. That's all for today. That's all for today's episode of Watermelon TV and the Blue Room Project. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time and culture. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves history as much as you do. Until next time, I am Meadow Celeb Second E. Upesh, reminding you to stay galactic.